there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is going to be, would I repurchase these eyeshadow palettes? Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me today. This video is an ongoing series where every month I select a random number of eyeshadow palettes from my collection and talk to you about these. Are these still right for my collection? Would I repurchase these? Like if I lost all of my makeup, would these be top of mind as something that I would have to add to my makeup collection again? And I don't think that's always necessarily the case in my case. So yeah, today I have selected another 10 for you to discuss, so let's get to it. Before we get into the video, I would love to tell you a little bit more about myself and my channel, just in case you're new here and you've never seen my videos. My name is Maaike, I live in the Netherlands, I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences how I feel about makeup. I have been buying makeup, reviewing it, trying it out for everyone to see for more than a decade. I love trying out eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in, content-wise, then I hope you'd like to consider subscribing. So as I mentioned, I've selected 10 random picks again from what I have written down note-wise. I haven't shown you these before in a video like this, but I might have. I definitely try to keep track of which palettes I've already featured, and then every month select a couple from my like drugstore small palette drawer and one from my more like, and like 5 from like more high-end indie picks as well. So let's just get to it. First things first, I realized I haven't talked a lot about these Futurism palettes from Kaleidos yet in this video series. And to be quite fair, I definitely think that the Electro Turquoise that I used again last month is the one that is mostly top of mind when it comes to these 6 pans that Kaleidos used to do. A couple of them are still available on the website. I'm not sure if this one, the Futurism 3 Astro Pink, is part of that, because they did discontinue most of the earlier ones they released. I had the original set of 5, and then there were 2 more that were released, and I think only one of those I've decluttered over time completely. And one of them I've kept the packaging from, but I did repress other shades into the packaging because that palette was too similar to other things I already owned. These were very unique for its day, and the packaging is just absolutely gorgeous. Because this is a little bit raised, it is difficult to lay things flat on top of this. So these are usually the palettes that if things are dropping when I'm filming my videos, this is usually the culprit, because everything just slides off it. We get some pink foiling on this and this like really pretty, swirly, almost like magma-esque kind of design, which all of these have in like different color stories. And also the color story on the outside represents the colors we're getting on the inside. And in here, I believe I didn't change anything in this one. This one I've kept the same. So you get 2 neutrals, like these are mattes that you can use for your crease, a really nice sort of pink tone for like a pinky lavender shimmer for the inner corner or all over the lid, something that's a bit more plummy pink, and then this turquoise and a matte black. So inside of this palette, I did replace the shimmering black it had for the matte black of the Sci-Fi Greens, which was the Futurism one. But that's the only thing I really did here. I'm just not a lover of these like black with silver glitters inside them. I feel it doesn't translate very well to the lids. So I felt this palette would be improved by having a matte black in. And I definitely think it is. I mean, you have enough shades here to do something a bit more colorful, but to keep it neutral at the same time. And that's why I've always appreciated this palette a lot. Would I miss this though if I ever lost it? If my entire makeup collection had to be replaced for some reason, would I miss this in the end? And the reason is I don't think I would. I definitely think that this is no longer super unique in my collection, that I can very easily dupe this out, especially because I also have the Club Nebula from Kaleidos, even within the same brand. They're not exactly the same shades, but if I'm thinking Kaleidos palettes, I would reach for this over, I would reach for the Club Nebula over this. And also my little quads from Kaleidos that they have been doing in more recent years are a formula I enjoy better than this. I like this. I think it still has merit to hang on to it and to keep using it in my collection for sure. But this eyeshadow palette isn't one that's top of mind to be repurchased, provided I could still get my hands on it, of course. I'm still happy to own it. I should definitely make an effort to go back to this. In fact, I think I should just do I need to use all of my Kaleidos palettes month at some point, because I really haven't been reaching for these. And to say that this is top of mind, it really isn't. It's not totally forgotten, but as I was digging through to select palettes for this video, I was like, oh yeah, I have that as well. So I definitely need to use this again. The next palette I have for you is a little bit fragile because I did drop this when I was using it to film another video with it last year. And it's the Anastasia Nouveau eyeshadow palette. So I hope it's okay if I try to show you the color story. I'll do it like this because what happened, I dropped it and all three of my favorite shimmers were cracked, and I tried repressing them into it. But ever since I dropped the palette, they have been flaking a little bit everywhere. So I have to be very careful tipping this over and transporting it. I'm definitely not going to be able to travel with this ever again. Not that I travel with my more expensive palettes anyway. But this is just a really pretty color story. It's one of the few from ABH that I still have in its original setup. And I really like this. I think it's really pretty. It's not exactly what I wanted it to be. So again, if we're asking ourselves the questions, is this a must-have? Is this something that I would miss in my collection? I don't think so, because especially in my singles palettes, I feel I have shades like this. And ever since this was released, I feel we have color stories that have these like sagey green things with a pop of purple. Not necessarily with the purple inside it, but I definitely have shades like it that if I use a couple of my palettes together, I could recreate the look. I definitely think that, for instance, my Natasha Denona Retro Glam has similar greens in. The ColourPop Petals on Point is one that comes in mind, and this definitely has some warm tones in, which I'm currently really loving again, so that's a good thing. But the Petals on Point and also the Natasha Denona Retro Glam are better picks if you prefer cool tones than this is, because it has a warm tones in. However, I do like the combination of the warm tones with the greens inside it. So I don't think that necessarily this palette by itself is super duper unique. I also feel that some of the later palettes we got after ABH released this one were very similar to this. So that's why I never picked up any of those newer palettes, even though those looked pretty and appealed to me for sure. But the Nouveau from ABH is a stunning color story with a pop of purple that makes for the best clash ever. So I still really enjoy mine. I just wish I hadn't dropped it, because I would definitely be using it more if it didn't have the accident. And yes, I did repress those shades. I pressed them back in, but they still keep flaking for some reason. It's like almost as if the binder can no longer hold the shadow together very well. One of the most affordable picks in recent years that I fell completely in love with is the Catrice Falling Colors, and to my surprise, I hadn't mentioned it in my Would I Repurchase series according to my notes. Even though in my brain I feel like I have mentioned this before, but then again that could be because I rave about this all the time. I was so happy that this was brought back to the market in Europe last fall, because this was limited edition a year before that, and then we got it back. I never see brands do that, because this was limited edition. You can no longer buy it. And secretly, part of me wishes I had bought a backup of this for myself. I haven't, because I don't feel I need to hoard makeup, because this is nowhere near hitting pan. It really isn't. But because you can no longer get it, and because I love this so much, I was like, it would make sense. It wasn't too expensive. But then again, I don't really do backups because I have too much makeup anyway. So I definitely don't do the backup train. This is the best fall color story that has ever been released. This was only 15 euros at the drugstore here, and it's like Huda Beauty quality. It was amazing. It's got warmth, but if you cover this up, you see that it's mostly a rosy, cool tone leading palette with like plums, mauve tones, some like cooler taupe leaning things on this side as well. Some really nice like cooler brown crease shades. It just has a lot going for it, and that's the thing I've always liked, and this is some of the best quality I've ever seen Catrice do. So Catrice did such a good job with this. This one I would miss in my collection. If I ever lost it, that's why part of my brain is like, why did you not get a backup of this? Because if I were to lose this or it would break completely, I would definitely miss this in my collection. And if I had the opportunity, I would definitely be repurchasing this. Next up is some Unearthly. This is their Strawberry Milkshake palette. This is one of the most colorful things I own. And I go through phases, wearing more colorful things, wearing warm tone things. Like my natural, like everyday go-to look is something a little bit more cool tone leaning and definitely neutral. Not something this colorful. Let me show you the color story up close. This is such a good, colorful, bright, vibrant, in-your-face, punchy color story if I've ever seen it though. That's why this gets to stay in my collection, because I don't feel I have these exact colors anywhere else. I have other colorful palettes, but I don't have a lot of reds and pinks, for instance, especially not ones that are this vibrant, and the red and the pink shimmer in this are life. We also get some matte greens and then this lime green shimmer. We get a matte neon pink, a shimmering lilac, a matte creamy shade, which is great for like lightening things up and being able to make things a bit more seamless and blendable. And then you do get a really nice darker red to sort of tie the look together. And this is pinks and reds that don't clash too much when you use them together. They blend really nicely together as well. So you can do a full like reddish pink look with this if you like. You can do a full green look if you like, but you can also use them together. So even though these colors are very much in your face, you do have options. Would I repurchase this? It would depend on my mood. If I were in a very colorful mood, I would definitely be missing this in my collection. But if I was in a position where I was just really digging my neutrals and I wasn't really into color at the minute, which I tend to favor wearing colorful things in like the spring summer season. I tend to be go super neutral in like the fall and winter season. I don't know why. Maybe because I wear more colorful clothing then, and then in the spring summer season my clothes tend to be a bit more neutral and I feel I can get away more with more colorful makeup. I don't know if that makes sense, but I definitely prefer colorful makeup this time of year. So that could be why. So if you were to ask me right now, the answer would definitely be yes, because I think this is definitely a more unique color story, just because it's so fun and bright and colorful. Is it something I'm going to get a whole lot of use out of? I don't think so. So for that reason, it would be a no. So you would have to ask me on the day how I would feel. But yeah, it's not a must-have if you don't love colorful things. However, if you do love color, then I think this is a great pick. I'm not sure if this is still available. Anyone know if this is still available from Unearthly? I don't know. I already mentioned that just like colorful things, when I use warm tones, I tend to use it in phases. And one of my favorite warm tone palettes of all time is the Saharan 2 by Juvia's Place. Again, my Juvia's Place palettes aren't ones I have mentioned a lot in these videos yet. I definitely had a phase more so when they were doing these 9 pans that I was really loving Juvia's Place. But because I haven't really purchased anything from the brand in recent years, I think they just kind of fell on the wayside for me, makeup collection-wise as well. Even though this is a beautiful color story. This is a 6 shimmer, 3 matte eyeshadow palette that has warm tones with a pop of blue. This, and also here we get a bit of a bluish mint kind of greenish leaning shades. And both of these shades have a flip. They're not like duochromes the way we do duochromes nowadays. They're definitely a little bit more subtle. But the peach has a gold flip, and also this cream shade has a bit of gold shimmer running through it. These are really pretty, really stunning, really good warm tones. I really enjoy the vibe I get from wearing these shades, but I haven't used it in so long, and I have so many other warm tone palettes with a pop of blue that I like just as much. But if I'm going for a warm tone with a pop of blue, I tend to reach for those palettes over this. So this would definitely not be a must-have. I wouldn't want to repurchase it. I would miss it though, because this is such a good one. This is one of the best palettes that Juvia's Place ever did, in my opinion. And I don't think you can still get it. I really enjoy this this color story. And this is definitely going to go onto the list of eyeshadow palettes to try this summer while I'm still in my I want to try all the warm tone things kind of moment. This is keeping me from buying some of the newer releases that we've had that are more warm toned, because I know I have so many things in my collection that I still like. I did declutter a lot of the warm toned options over the years that didn't stand out to me enough, but the ones that are my tried and true, I kept around, and that I did that makes me so happy now that I'm really loving warm tones again. Sticking to more colorful things, I noticed that I hadn't mentioned my Menagerie Feral yet in this little roundup. I did mention the Pastel Pop in the past in this series, and I believe I also mentioned another one from them. I did go back to this earlier in the year. I used it again because I just love this so much. This is such a good colorful palette without it being a full classic rainbow color story, and that's why this works. You can do a rainbow look with it if you want to, but you don't have to. And that's what I like about this one. With a lot of rainbow palettes, the colors are too primary for it to work against my skin tone, and things clash really weirdly and it doesn't look nice. But with this, it just works really well. And no one is going to look at you and go like, are you wearing like bright yellow eyeshadow? It will blend into your skin tone and it will work. I love the greens with the yellow. I love the like reddish pinks with the purple, the neutral with this sort of like teal turquoise blue leaning thing. Really pretty. This shimmer is really, really stunning as well. Also, the pinks and the greens in this are really good at being used combined together because they kind of make a purple when you blend it. So these shades just work really, really well for me. This is one I would miss. If I think colorful palettes in my collection, this is one of the first ones I would repurchase if I have to start over, because this is one that I feel like I've just found trying so many colorful things when I was first really into colors a couple of years ago, like back in 2018. I really was stuck in a rut trying nothing but neutrals, and I really wanted to challenge myself to use more colorful things. So I did, by dipping my toes into like rainbows and using more colorful items. And this is one of the ones that I've kept around and that I just think of. If I think of colorful eyeshadow in my makeup collection, it's this one. So this would be an instant repurchase. A palette that you know I would repurchase in a heartbeat because this came out on top in one of my recent palette battle videos. Once a month, I take all of the eyeshadow palettes from a single brand I have, and I decide for you which one is my all-time, like ultimate favorite. And the Melody from Zoeva came out on top in my most recent Zoeva palette battle. So it's no surprise that I would definitely be repurchasing this. This is such a good fair skin friendly neutral palette that I don't feel we get enough from brands, because this is light enough, but it also has depth. It's got some interest with this lilac shade. This is a duochrome, which is really lovely as well. And you get enough like blend shades and fun shimmers in this to amp up a look and to make it look more interesting. And I know so many of my fair-skinned viewers really enjoy this one as well. So yes, if this were still available, which it isn't, because these 10 pans from Zoeva no longer exist. But the Melody, if it was still available for purchase, I would definitely repurchase in a heartbeat. This is another one where I'm like, why didn't I get a backup? But I do have to say that only in recent years has this one floating to the top of the line for me when it comes to Zoeva palettes. When I first got this, I didn't really clock it as a favorite because it looked so boring. But now that I've used it so many times, and I've used it so many times again and again, and there are just a couple of really pretty go-to looks that I like doing with this, that always make me feel pretty, that always work for me, that are never too much, that work perfectly for work situations, for any situation really I can think of. So this has been just such a versatile palette for me that I didn't realize that at the first time I tried it, but I'm so happy that I still have this. A brand I realized I hadn't even mentioned in any of these videos yet is BH Cosmetics, and I definitely have a couple of their palettes. There are a couple of them in my Shop My Stash at the minute, the Love in London and the Bubblegum, but the Blueberry Muffin is one that got a lot of hype when it was first released. This was people's like favorite palette of the year, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. it has a really pretty color story that doesn't work for me very well. So this is one that was actually on the chopping block a couple of years ago, and that I pulled at the last minute because I was like, yeah, I think that I would want to repurchase something like this again if it were still available. So that, to me, whenever I declutter, sometimes I get caught up in doing the declutter as I'm filming it, and then I get rid of so much, and then a couple of weeks or months down the line, I always keep the products in my house for a little while so that I still feel good about getting rid of things. And then as I'm getting ready to truly get rid of things and pass things on to friends and family, I go through everything again to see if there's anything that I would like that kind of hurts to get rid of. And this is one of those. Because it's not a perfect palette for me. And the reason why it isn't perfect is because this is the only crease shade that you get, which is a gray, which makes everything look a little bit bland. This has some really stunning shimmers though. These two in the middle I really enjoy. I like this one. I like these two here as well. These two mattes make the palette a bit more interesting, but they kind of threw me off the first time I used this palette because they look like reddish browns in the palette, but they pull plum on my complexion, which it was very weird. But once I got over that, I like this palette so much more. And I just need to accept that if I want to use this, it's going to look a little bit more smoky because the only thing I get that I can possibly use in the crease shades are a touch too dark for me, or it's going to be boring gray. You know what I mean? And I always call grays boring. I know I do. There are non-boring grays, but I find them very rare. Most grays on the market are very flat because there's just not a lot of thought being put into what a gray can be. And that's definitely the issue with this palette for me. If it had a different crease shade in it for me, I would like this so much better. But would I repurchase it? Again, something I can dupe very easily in my collection, I think. If I hadn't already purchased it, I don't think I would miss it. So that's why this is a no for me when it comes to would I repurchase it. Then a palette I didn't buy myself, but this was gifted to me by one of my subscribers. It's the Gemini 2 from Melt Cosmetics. This I was very much on the fence about because the Melt formula, the eyeshadow formula from Melt, is one of my favorites. I love their eyeshadow formula. But this, color story wise, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, why do I need 5 peachy pinks? Can anyone explain to me? They're all mattes too, and they're just like slight little renditions of what the next shade up could be. So I'm lacking contrast, I'm lacking colorful things. I really wanted this for these grungy shades at the end, and with Melt being a little bit more expensive, I just felt it wasn't going to be worth it for me. And then she's like, oh, I got an extra one in a giveaway or some sort of box or something. So she sent it to me, which was really sweet. And then I've used it. I like it a lot. However, is this really like filling a gap in my makeup collection? No. Is this something that I would miss in my collection if I ever lost it, or if it would ever like end up like burning down to the ground? I don't think I would miss this. This is nice. It's good quality. It's a reminder for me how good Melt is. The color story is definitely a good addition to their lineup, but to my makeup collection, it doesn't give me enough of what I like and appreciate about Melt. Something like the Mary Jane, I like a lot more. That one I would repurchase. The Gemini 2, not really. And the final palette I wanted to show you is this. This is the Cashmere from Glam Shop. Glam Shop is an indie brand from Poland, so for me, living in the EU, it's incredibly easy to get. Shipping isn't super exorbitant, like it's not super expensive, and I have this color story, which was recommended by one of you. I tried when they launched it. The issue with Glam Shop is that all of their palettes are always limited edition. So when it's gone, it's gone. You can no longer get it. So I'm sad that not more people could try this, because this, like the Melody, is a great neutral palette for people with fair skins, because this never goes too deep. It goes deep enough that you can do like a full look and you can make it more glam, but a lot of it has like more midtones and very light shades, and that's what I like about it. We get some duochrome sort of moments in here as well. We get enough shimmers, enough mattes, this is perhaps a little superfluous. And also this yellow shade I don't love, and this peach kind of throws me off. If those had been cool tones, I think I would have liked it even better. But overall, this is a really pretty palette. No longer available. I think, though, that if I had to pick, I would choose the Melody because I feel it has more interest than this does. And they kind of fill a similar slot for me. So I don't think I would go out and like make the effort of trying to track this down if I ever lost it or like had to somehow replace it. I don't think I would go out of my way to try and add this to my collection again and opt for the Zoeva instead. Those were the 10 palettes I wanted to discuss with you in this video today, so thank you so very much for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. Let me know in a comment down below if there are any of these palettes that you personally own, or if there are any palettes like that you think about in this way as well, like, this palette, would I want to keep it? Yes or no? I would love to know. And then for now, I would like to thank you so very much for joining me. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, so if you'd like to stay tuned for more. And then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye!